Welcome to HobbyView Live, where I don't give any warning, going live. Well, Arcelando, hey, people are already in here. Murdoch Pot? Rawr! Yes, we'll give some people time to get in here. Thanks for showing up. Hey, Mike Raka? I don't know if I can pronounce it or not. Greetings and salutations, Earth creatures. I will be patient and let some small amount of time lapse before I get into the show. For all three of you, there's 7. Hey, come on, get in here. I don't care what you're doing. We got a live show to live. Looks like a broken prop there in the background. Be quiet, Adam. Yeah, I had a minor incident today with the P51, but it's okay. Very, very minor. I got more props. And you'll see when I get the video finished. Did a bunch of flying today, actually. The past several days. I think I flew every day since the holiday. Yeah. We were flying Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at my own field, which I hadn't been at for much. So it was nice to get out there, hang out with the guys, do a little flying a few different planes, flying a new plane. New to me. It's kind of old and beat up. But, it was kind of get out, I've been bouncing around a lot, so it's nice to fly at my home field, which unfortunately looks to be going away at some point in the not too distant future. So I need to get all the time I can there. Hope you guys can hear me okay. I got the AC running in the back. RC Lando's got something that says, how's the weather? Hot! Africa hot. Tarzan couldn't take this hot. So hot, I cook things in my pants. Do some crock pot cooking. This year has been a little weird so far. Fairly breezy and windy and really odd weather and kind of rainy. Usually things settle down after about April here, but now we're into July and it's still a little wonky. But actually this past few days are actually pretty nice out here. Other than being kind of hot, this is Texas, so it's going to be hot, but at least the weather settled down, kind of more or less down the runway at the flying field. So that's good. Hello, I don't think I even can even try to pronounce that name. Nitapat? Well, maybe the first name, Nitapat. How are you doing? Thailand. I actually wanted to go to Thailand once. I was in the area, relatively speaking, and I wanted to take a trip into Thailand, but I guess it was busy season or something. The tickets were really expensive, even though it was like literally 1 or 2 countries away, really close, on the same continent, the same area. So I never did. A friend of mine actually lived there for quite a while. I wanted to go visit him at some point, but never worked out. So one of these years, I'd like to visit Thailand. I do like Thai food. Heard the beaches are really nice. Maybe one day. But anyways, thanks everybody for joining me. This is a live show that I was just thought about doing. I had an idea for a topic. So I thought, well, let me kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I haven't done a live show in quite a while. I've been really busy, just some personal stuff. And nobody said anything. So I guess the audio's good. And it'd be nice to have just a live show, see what people are talking about. Anyways, looks like a few people have gotten in here. I don't expect a huge amount of crowd. This is Sunday night, after all. It's quote unquote school night for those of us slugs at work. All the kids are out of school, of course. But for tomorrow's a work day. But I thought I'd relax. Nice Sunday evening, and sit here in the garage, do some stuff. Oh, Adam, since you're on here, I got the goods. So anyways, it reminds me, I forgot to send something to Joshua. Anyway, I'll try to do it later tonight. So Bud Thai street food. Yeah, yeah. I'm always game for some street food as long as it doesn't look like it came from scraped off the street. I'm good. Uh, but anyways, uh, on a side note, we have lots of Thai restaurants here in America, but I understand they're not exactly. It's like Chinese food here. It's sort of really Americanized. Ironically, I think the least things that are Americanized maybe Japanese food here and maybe some other things. But anyways, I digress. So let's get into the show here. Thanks everybody for joining me here, having you live. Always appreciate you guys chiming in, saying hello, seeing some old names and some new names as well. And I had hoped to have an upgrade to my Wi-Fi here in the workshop, but it didn't work out this weekend. That was really another reason why I was going to do a live show was to test out. I was going to have some upgrades, courtesy of a good friend of mine who's going to come over, but we couldn't schedule that, so that'll be later. Uh, but later, like I don't know when, but later. But he said, "Hey, I got some upgrades for you that'll, so you don't have to string wires from your workshop into the house." So, anyways, oh yeah, you do see it, don't you? There it is, Adam. Hey, hey there, Mr. M. How you doing? I saw some pictures you posted. You're reading around yourself. Um, but anyways, speaking of that, to let you guys know, I am going to be traveling to Cleveland, and the stars align. I want to try to head out to the Air Force Museum if I can make it, if I can squeeze it in. I'm really hoping I can, and I get to see some stuff. I've been there once before, some years ago, but I completely missed all the X-planes, and so I am I'm jonesing for some X-plane goodness. And I was a friend of mine was just saying today that I think there is a hobby shop called Radical RC. Hopefully, still in the area. Would like to see them. They're a really interesting shop. They do mail order. If you're not familiar with them, look them up. Radical RC. They got all kinds of unique goodies and stuff. So, if I can kill two birds with one stone, I love going to hobby shops when I travel and museums, air museums, and all kinds of museums. All right. So, oh wait, I got a comment here before I go. Hey, got questions already. Regarding the L19, would you use the same motor or slightly smaller? So I presume you're talking about that big, huge, ginormous, quite large and substantial L19 I did some time ago. It was 150 something inch wingspan. I believe that was was an EME 20cc twin. No, 20cc, 120cc. Forgot the decimal. Uh, uh, it would fly probably with 100cc. I think it would fly okay. With 100, it'd probably fly very scale-like. I wouldn't go any lower than that. The 120 was really seemed to be a really good power setup for it. But if you're not looking to really do any aerobatics other than maybe the occasional loop or something or a stall turn, you just want to kind of putt around, I think 100cc would fly it. Uh, there was some reserve power definitely with the 120. So just realize say if you went to 100, you're probably going to be higher on the throttle a bit more, flying it around. But it can fly really slow and kind of putt around. So I think that's my honest opinion. Hey, Daniel Gray. Hey, I'm a huge fan. Hey, I guess the check cleared. Is the latest P-51 for Seagull the Ah, are we back? Are we still there? Let me know on the stream if you still see me. Oh, good now? Okay. That's very odd. So it didn't look like I lost internet connection. It looks like just something happened between the computer and the camera, just decided to make a hiccup. The timer never stopped. Ah, very odd. Sorry about that. We go back to the comments. So a few good comments came in. Hey, Daniel, Charlotte's Chariot. Charlotte's Chariot. I don't remember. Is that, I think so. Let me do a quick look. I'm looking right now at Charlotte's Chariot. I think it is 71 inch. It seems about right. Let's see if I can get some detailed pics. I know you can't see it. I'm looking at their website. I was hoping to see some details. That looks a lot like, yeah, yes. That looks exactly like it, yes. Oh, the picture, but that's what I'm looking for. So, yes. Okay, so yes. So I know it came in different schemes. So Daniel, yes, I think unequivocally, yes, it's the same model, just different scheme. The one I have was just olive drab and gray, no decals or anything. I think Charlotte's Chariot comes with some extra goodies in silver. So, good question. What free places? Place Unlimited. Yeah, yes. We're talking about the Air Force Museum in Ohio. If you haven't been there, it's really worth a trip. It's a fantastic museum. Probably the #1 air museum. Maybe shared a slot with the Air Museum in Florida, the one in Pensacola, Navy, Air Force versus Navy. Let's see. Well, hey, living life. Thank you. Very nice sentiment. Soothing channels to listen to. Put you to sleep, right? Well, hey, they're from Canada. But the weather's a lot nicer up there than it is here. So that version up close. UK, really? The Charlotte's Chariot? Interesting. Speaking of UK, obviously this is the 4th of July weekend. And I was just thinking a few years ago when I was actually in the UK on the 4th of July. That was an interesting experience. I had nothing wrong with it. It was more personal, mental thing. It was like, oh, I'm here in England on the 4th of July. You know, should I apologize? But, to the credit, pretty much everybody in the UK were like, we don't care. 4th of July, okay, that's how quaint. Anyways, there's a football match on. So we're talking about the P-51. Maybe I'll just go right into that. So I wanted to try something a little different that I didn't before. So let me start sharing something. Seagull models. I'm actually going to bring that up. All right, so you can see on my screen here. I was hoping to see theater mode, multiplayer. Can I do this? There we go. Where are the comments? Did I just lose all the comments? There they are. Okay, so There's a video, the last video I have of the Seagull Models P51. It's got really good views. Thanks everybody for watching it and sending feedback. I've gotten really good views on this one. I was surprised, to be honest with you. Don't know why the algorithm gods preyed on me this time, but I'm really happy how it's doing, and hopefully the production is interesting for you. But what I wanted to talk about are some of the comments. I got some interesting comments. And I responded to some of them. I see a lot of the comments. I don't always respond, but I thought I would talk about them while I've got you guys at your what do you call it? Attention. And it may be easier to talk about some of these things, and maybe you guys can give me some feedback if I'm off on left base or not. And so let's see. Let me just go pick out a few. Thank you so much. Very kind comments. There's a couple of things that kind of jumped out. Glad you guys understood the Blazing Saddles reference. The backlighting for the holes. Yeah, that's kind of something I just kind of did. Just for in a moment. I had a summary of some of the comments. I should have just used that. Another couple of Blazing Saddles. I thought I was looking. Well, there's more comments than I thought. Maybe I haven't. Okay. So there were a couple of comments that poked on this. Some were a little more aggressive than others, and it was interesting. One. A lot of people said, how come it doesn't have a four-bladed prop on it? And I know there's a couple of guys that mentioned that. Said, hey, why isn't it four-bladed? This is the 21st century. All planes should have a four-blade or something like that. And I thought, well, it's an interesting comment. Oops. One of these days I'll get a new mouse. Where was it? So I'll just pick his because it's the first one. So, four-bladed prop. So yes, I know P51s have a four-bladed prop. Well, at least most of them do. And for those of you who are not big into RC models or wondering why doesn't it not have a four-bladed prop, well, there's a couple of reasons. One, it only came with a two-bladed spinner. It's got a nice aluminum spinner that came with the kit, and it's only two blades. So I didn't have a four-bladed spinner that was nice and aluminum. And second, there's somebody just hinted at it on the chat. Technically speaking, from what I understand, two blades are actually more efficient than four blades. And the reason you go to more blades is because a two blade is not big enough and you need to soak up the power in the engine. And so the engine has a certain amount of power, and if you don't have enough pitch and diameter, you can overspeed the prop or you're not in your power curve. And so overspeed the engine, not the prop. And so normally, for modelers, we use two-bladed props. They're cheaper. They're a lot cheaper. Four-bladed props. I'm talking gas engines now. When we talk electric motors, there's a little more flexibility in that. But with gas engines, you certainly can use multi-blade props. In fact, I had just picked one up. I want to go grab it. Just came in yesterday. I'm going to walk over here and grab it here. What I can, here is a three-bladed prop. I'm not even looking at the screen here. You're probably not seeing the screen. So you can see it on the side. Here's a three-bladed prop. This is an 17-inch by 8 for a 30cc engine. I'm going to put on a Japanese Val dive bomber. The three-bladed, if I remember correctly, is accurate for that plane. And now we're going to go three-bladed because two things. It's got fixed landing gear, so I don't have to worry about belly up landings if the gear doesn't work and breaking a prop. And second, of course, it looks more scale. I may paint it to make it even more scale. So three-bladed prop is kind of neat. Third, that plane doesn't need a lot of power to fly. Inevitably, when you go with a multi-blade prop, you're going to have to go down in diameter. And so this is already an inch or two less diameter than what I normally use with a two-blade. Now imagine if I went for a four-blade. And so instead of running a 19 or 20-inch prop on the plane, if I went to a four-blade, I'd probably cutting it down to maybe a 15 or 16-inch prop, something like that. I'm just rough guess. And so the prop would be a lot smaller in diameter and probably wouldn't fly quite as well on that plane with so many props on a gas engine with a limited amount of power. And I mentioned before too, price. If I can buy a two-bladed prop. I'll just grab one here. I can source, I just bought a couple online the other day. Here's a 20 by 8 prop. I probably could buy one of these for 20 bucks. The prices vary, of course. But, 20 bucks, wood prop, for something that inevitably probably going to break at some point. This 3-blader cost me about 50 bucks. And that was the cheaper one. So there's a huge price difference for not really gaining anything except aesthetics. Because once the engine's running, you can't tell how many props it has because it's running. So the people say, why don't you use 4 blades? Well, the 4 blades is great when it's sitting on the ground and not doing anything. But as soon as you start that sucker up, you can't tell how many blades it has. And I'd rather fly with a cheaper 2-blader that maybe it doesn't look quite as scale sitting on the ground than a more expensive multi-blade prop that's going to probably take a hit in efficiency somewhat. Probably not as bad in the P-51 because it's got a nice sleek cowl, but imagine if you got a radial engine cowl, and you're going to have a lot less prop blowing air around the plane. So these are my thoughts, and so that's why you can. That's why you don't really see a lot of multi-bladed props on big. Now, if I was going to do something like, say, Top Gun or some really, really high scale competition, I probably would put a 4-blader prop on it, or an accurate number of blades, let's say that, on the aircraft and take my performance hit and price hit because I was looking for ultimate scale accuracy. But for sport flying, it's not really not necessary. Now, the nice thing about electric planes, you can get away with larger multi-bladed scale props because you can change the motor specs and the battery specs to more match what you need. So you can go, I had a P-51, I don't have any more, but I've got like an E-flite Focke-Wulf 190 over there. It's got I think a 3-blader on it. It looks really nice. I just picked up a nice electric Dynam B26 Marauder, and it's got 4-blader props, kind of rotating. They look big in scale, and it looks pretty neat. But again, once it's flying, you really can't tell. So for those of you asking why and spinner. That's right. So I had a nice aluminum spinner. If you're going to go try to source a nice 3 or 4-bladed spinner, it's going to be more expensive. It's going to be harder to find. And usually there's not as many choices for specs on a multi-bladed prop. If you're looking for something in an odd diameter and pitch, you may or may not find it in the multi-blade. So there's lots and lots of reasons for the average hobbyist why you may not see multi-bladed props so much on gas-powered engines. Electric ones are a little more flexible. So for those of you asking about that, I know it's probably a long-winded answer, and if I got any details right, feel free to catch me on that. But that is why you don't see that on the large stuff, unless you got a big engine. Now, there was, years ago, I don't know if I can find it, there was Byron, right? Let's see if I can find it. And I want to see if I can find an image of it. And this was pretty cool. This is kind of it. I'm looking for a good picture. There we go. Let's try this. Let's see. Open image, new tab. It's a teeny tiny picture. Great. Try it's a terrible picture, but let's see if I can switch over to it. Oh, is that share screen? There you go. All right. So here it's too small. Sorry about that. I'll just describe it. I don't know if you see my mouse. So years ago, Byron Aircraft Company, who are no longer doing anything, no longer in business, they made a geared or belt drive setup for a gas engine to drive a large 4-bladed prop for like a quarter scale aircraft. And so this is how they were able to get away with it, by taking a regular weed whacker engine, and there's a shaft extension, and there's some sort of prop reduction on there. And so by doing that, that allowed you to run a large multi-bladed scale-sized propeller on your RC airplane. I don't know how well they worked. I just remember seeing them in magazines. I don't think I've ever saw one in a plane in operation. We're talking 1980s, so this was way long ago when this stuff was still being new and tried out. And so that's how they would get away with running a larger prop. And this even looks like a P-51. Looks like it's upside down, but that's how you can go by with a larger prop. But unfortunately, the engines rerun their torque curve tends to favor spinning pretty fast, and so you're limited to smaller props. Versus this way, you can gear it down and spin a larger prop slower, versus trying to spin a really small prop at 7,000 RPMs or whatever. So hopefully it's kind of I just wanted to get that off my chest. Let's see. Take that out. Remove that there. Okay. I think I got a couple comments. Yeah, exactly. I'd rather be more efficient. I want to fly the most I can. Exactly. If you got a model, you want to get really good performance out of it. And like I said, if you're not trying to do a scale competition, and just go with a cheaper, more efficient prop. You ever seen the pictures of guys with one blade? They have a blade and a counterweight. That's probably the ultimate inefficiency once you get that thing set up. I saw a helicopter like that. A guy locally has an RC helicopter's got one blade and he's got a counterweight on the other side. It flew really good. That's probably excess in the other direction, but I thought that was pretty neat. Yeah. This was a Zor of all things, which was really good. But yeah, I was able to find a pretty good price on it. And I figured, because a lot of sources were talking a lot more, sometimes pushing $80 for a 3-blade prop. It's like, yeah, yowzers, and one bad landing and quack, you're out of $80. So yeah, Vario prop and that kind of stuff. Try the 3-blade on my 20cc yak. It's noticeably worse. Yep, you're usually going to take a performance hit. There are some cases you may not take so much, but generally speaking, even real planes, I think they try to get away is the least amount of blades they can get away with. As long as you got the ground clearance and that other stuff, I think expense and performance. So there's some anecdotal evidence showing why less propellers is better and cheaper. Efficient electric changes a lot from 2 to 4, like you said in the beginning. You just can't beat 2 prop. Yeah, exactly. We're fighting physics here. So, and like I said, in the real P-51, the reason why they have 4 blades is because it's got a 2,000 horsepower engine and it needs blades to soak up all that power. If you try to put a 2-blader on a P-51, the blade, it would have to dig into the ground. It had to be so big, or it would just rev the engine and probably blow things up in the engine. This equation, since my plane spanned 9 miles the ground, where it was a mimic the full scale. And that's perfectly fine. Like I said, it's a trade-off. Looks versus performance. And sometimes you can find a pretty good middle ground, depending on the plane. It's probably more, to get away with it more in some of the scale planes, because if you fly it in a scale manner, you're not really looking for the hoverbatics and that kind of stuff. But a lot of sport planes, you may want to no, be nice. I know Delta Dart personally. He's actually flies a lot. he's not one just to have it sitting on the ground. He's quite active. He's a stickler for scale. I'll just say that. That's all. All right. So let me pull back up another comment here. I think we beat that into the ground. Present another one. Share screen. Where were we? Oh, here we go. Sorry. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, this is funny. I always like seeing these comments. I think I'm showing it. Yeah, incredible things have happened since I dabbled 20 teens. 20 teens is not that long ago. And we've already seen a lot of changes in the hobby just from 10 years ago. For the EU flight, staggered wing Beechcraft. I've got a little electric stagger wing. One of these days, I bought it at a swap meet. It's an old E-Flight one. I don't think they made in many, many moons, but it was kind of neat and it was cheap. So one of these days I'll get out just to fly around just for giggles. Why then the government starts sticking their nose into the hobby? Okay, yeah, this was another one. So he's poking on the recent things that has happened with here in America, at least. Kind of clamping down a little bit on our hobby. I think he's being slightly hyperbolic, but I certainly see what he's saying. The gizmos are not needed if you're flying at what they call a FRIA, FAA recognized club, paraphrasing, for FAA recognized IA area, something area, whatever identification area, I think. So it just means that I think at this point now we're at 95% or more of all the RC clubs are now FRIAs. And so if you fly an RC club, you don't have to put any gizmos in your airplane. You do have to stick a, what do you call it? Some information on the outside of the plane, somewhere where they can see it. It has your FAA registration number. And yes, now you have to get an FAA registration number. You got to renew it every, 3 years? It costs $5. And also you should take a one-time only trust test. It's basically really easy test just to make sure you're familiar with some of the rules. So I know they've added some stuff on it, but it's one of those things. It's like, taking a medicine. You take it once and you're over with it. So the gizmos are only for flying in places that have not done their paperwork to be recognized by FAA as a model, quote unquote, model airplane flying area. So technically, yes, if you're going to fly in a park or on your own land, you're going to need one of those. Then you're going to need a module on the plane that sends out a beacon that tells you your information and whatnot. But I'm sure if you're flying on your own property out in the middle of nowhere, nobody's going to care. And they're not going to do anything. It's really for a lot of cases, drones. So if you do something stupid with a drone, they can hunt you down and find you. I mean, technically, if you do something stupid with an airplane too, but we know most people, overwhelming majority of people in the hobby are not doing things stupid with their model airplanes. It's the people who are new to the hobby that are doing silly things with their drones. And the problem is the government, I'm just whacking personally here, just my opinion, is the government didn't make the distinction between grandpa flying his model airplane and some kid flying a drone thinking it'd be cool to fly through buildings and over stadiums. And so they got lumped in one big basket. And so so I see what he's saying, but you can still enjoy the hobby without having to put a lot of gizmos or any gizmos in your plane, as long as you're at a club or a recognized area. Let's see. Very interesting one. Thanks a lot. There's a few more comments. Yeah, guys on the gas planes. Oh, I didn't see this comment. I'm getting my small airplane kit. Like how the kit is made. I only see them flying whenever someone build. Ah, well, hey, I'm glad I'm useful to somebody. So yeah, that's what I like to show. Build. I like to build. A lot of people say, well, you're not building, you're assembling. Well, okay. Okay, I'm assembling, yes. So I do a lot of assembly of aircraft, but I also do build. If you look in for those of you new to the channel, look at my video library, look in the back. I built several kits on this channel. I have an electric Cub I built from a box of wood. I've got a QT I scratch built. And I built a few other planes. I've done some reviews for Model Aviation, which is an AMA magazine. And I built a kit of a couple different gliders. You can look on their page, their YouTube page. You see there. Since it was for them, I didn't put it on my page. Oh, I do have another one. I did it's over there, the ME 109 from, what's his name? Oh, darn it, it's right on the tip of my brain. Oh, damn, I forgot what he's called. So he's a small company that makes kits. He still makes laser cut kits and stuff. And he had sort of a profile ME109 I built that flies really good. You can see the video of that on the channel. Oh, it's right on the tip of my brain. I can't remember. He's not Classic Model Works. I forgot what it's called. He's gonna kill me. It's Sunday. My brain is. Oops. Trying to look at that. I'm not sure what he really means by this. Looks like it's fabricated like a tank. Okay. I don't know if it's a good or bad thing. So it's pretty stout, but it's actually, it flies better than you would think. So on my builds, I started using my HFP30. This is it's over here somewhere, a programmer for servos, for high-tech servos in particular. I think it's right here, is it? Yeah. So this bigger. So HFP30. I've had it for a while. It's one of the things I forget about. And in the last couple of builds, I've used it. Yes, Old School Model Works. Thank you. I can't believe I forgot their name. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Delta. So this is the high-tech servo programmer. And what it allows you to do is for the high-tech digital servos, you can go in and reprogram them to do different things. Now, of course, a lot of stuff the radios can do nowadays, but what it comes in really handy is able to reverse direction of the servo. Because a lot of the models I built, especially a lot of the Seagull models, will have, say, 2 servos for the elevator. And if you just put the servos on a Y, the elevators go like this. As it's like this, the one servo is going in the opposite direction than it needs to go. And you can't change it. You can't change the geometry of the push rods to really fix that very well. So by going in and just plugging a servo in, I can go in and reprogram it to go reverse direction. So when I put them on the Y, they go in the same direction. And what it does is it frees up an extra channel. So before I'd have to use 2 channels on the receiver for the elevator. For now I can just use 1 channel, and I don't have to put in, say, an 8 or 10 channel receiver for a 6 channel plane, so it comes in real handy. But you can also do a bunch of other stuff in the servos. I know you can change, I think you can change the speed, change the deadband, certain other things. But I didn't really look too deep into it. And he's saying, hey, you can go in there and turn on overload protection. And I said, oh, I didn't even know they had overload protection, because I actually burnt out a servo not too long ago, one of the high-techs, because I didn't realize it was binding. I was doing something and had left it on, and it was binding, and it smoked itself. It took a little while. I didn't do it instantly, but there's an overload protection. I was like, oh, wow. And that could come in handy when you're really first setting up an airplane. You're not sure what kind of distance you're going to need. I stopped sharing the screen. So he talks here, overload protection. So that's really neat. I was actually considering turning this on and showing you guys live, but the camera's way over there. You're not going to see anything. But it's definitely consider getting one of these. I don't think they go for very much money, and it's come in handy a bunch of times. And I know there's other stuff it can do, but it's really neat to be able to go in and reprogram servos to do kind of stuff. Yeah, the pilot doesn't have any shoulders, and there's 2 reasons why. A, I was getting kind of lazy and I was in a rush to get it done. But B, you can't really see that there's no shoulders when the canopy's on. So I figured, and it kind of just barely fits. I don't even know if you'd fit with the shoulders. I might have to print them a little smaller and then put shoulders on, but I thought he looked a good size. So that's why there's no shoulders. But it's been out of the field several times. I saw somebody was asking about the Maiden, and nobody's noticed that it has no shoulders. He has no arms. Nobody yet. So I consider that a win. Again, I'm not doing this for scale competition. So I just leave it like that. I have surgeon-like hands. So there's a thing, I remember reading an article or snippet somewhere saying that medical schools are having issues with some of their newer students because the kids are not using their hands as much in school for certain things. Now we have cell phones, everybody's on their cell phone. And so since kids are not building as many things or doing as many projects, apparently, at least in some areas, they're having issues. The ones that want to become doctors are not as dexterous. The dexterity they have needs to be developed more because they haven't using their hands as much for fine surgery. And so if you have a young person that thinks they want to go into medical profession, give them a hobby, give them make model airplanes or something, because they'll develop the fine motor skills a little better, and maybe they'll be ahead of their class. So there's a little side note, random thing that I picked up. I'm a keeper of random things. Yeah, somebody asked about the opening and closing of the canopy. I briefly thought about that, but that would have taken a lot more engineering. It'd be neat to do that, but I just wasn't I didn't have the time to do all that kind of engineering. I would still be working on it probably if I was doing that. But I've seen it in other models and it's really neat. So maybe one day, maybe I'll get a bug in me to go and stick a, I don't know, linear servo or something in there and make it open and close remotely. Yeah, scale V12. I think you can actually buy a V12 that runs. I know I got one of a twin cylinder engine I've been meaning to follow up on with another video running an airplane, but they have the engine DIY company makes a whole series of engines. I know they at least got a V8. So it would be really neat, a V12, if you can hook a prop up to it and it has enough power. It'd probably be a much smaller plane, but that would still be really, really cool to see that. I know people have done that for larger aircraft, actually working multi-cylinder V12s, V8s, that kind of stuff in model airplanes. Really, really neat. It's funny, I've seen pictures of guys that will build the engine, a beautiful engine, multi-cylinder replica or something, or Ferrari or an old engine from World War I or something. And they'll just stick it on a test stand and run it. I was like, that's nice. But like Indiana Jones, that belongs on an airplane. Not on a test stand. But anyways. Yeah, I kind of cheekily was asking about the decals. The decals are a little risque, I thought, in a way. And I thought some people said, hey, it's up to you for the decals. Somebody's advising you put some washers under the ball links. It's not a bad idea. I haven't had a problem so far, but certainly not against sticking washers, a little tiny washer under the ball link. Let's see. Perfume looks awesome. Motor prototypical. Yeah, here's another person really trying to take me to task for not having a 4-bladed prop. It's not a 2-bladed plane. Okay. You're right, it's not, but it's okay. But the blame the manufacturers, that's not really fair. They do have a clue, and I've mentioned before earlier in this live show why you usually have a 2-bladed on there. This is not new. This hobby's been around since nearly the Wright brothers. So, but anyways, again, somebody else. That's why I wanted to talk about it. Why is that a 4-bladed? So, anyways, do we get a flight? Of course you do. CG stand. Yeah, the CG stand is a CGer from Legend Hobby. I sent the link. It's a pretty neat. I had it up. I was using it earlier today. It's on the floor, but it can hold the plane up, and it also can act as a CG stand for larger models. So it's been pretty handy. Game with the 4 prop. Stop that. Okay, so there's a guy asking, why did I put a brother for the pilot? Well, because brother didn't fly that particular airplane. And I certainly know all about the Black Airmen that flew fighter planes, Tuskegee Airmen, and there's a Tuskegee, they had a bomber, a whole series of pilots that were training to fly bombers, but the war ended before they were put into service. But you know, here's somebody taking me to task for not having 4 billion prop, and here's somebody else asking me, how come I don't have an inaccurate pilot in that particular paint scheme? And so nothing against them. It's just it was the type of plane. I picked that paint scheme because I liked it. I thought it was pretty cool, and the pilot to match. I think that's pretty not for the novice. No, of course, this plane is not for the novice, and I will talk about that in the video a little bit. It's not hard to fly plane, but there's some nuances toward that. You're going to need at least intermediate flying skills to fly it, and it's a warbird. It's not very few warbirds are for the novice for the most part. If you want a novice warbird, to get the electric, there's a lot of lightweight electric ones that are very much for the novice. But when you start to get into the gas engine, larger ones, some are better than others. Usually, say a Zero or P-47 tend to be really easy to fly, versus P-51s can be a little more tricky, and things like that, 109s and stuff like that. But anyways, I just wanted to kind of cover some of the comments, see what you guys thought. I might do this again for other videos. Again, thanks for those of you who watched the video and give me some thumbs up. I got 1,000 thumbs up. Thank you. And good 45,000 views. So thank you so much. Let me pull this off here. All right, let's go to the comments. Where did I leave off? So you guys go ahead and back and forth. Yeah, in other words, we need variable pitch props to solve a lot of problems. That would. And you can get them for electric stuff. But I think the problem I understand is engineering them small enough for the power you use, the vibrations for gas power planes, or the I think there was somebody that had for some of the lightweight ones, indoor planes, some really lightweight models, they've had variable pitch props, and of course helicopters have variable pitch props on them. And I know a guy who's trying to retrofit, say, a tail rotor prop on a small plane from a helicopter because it has variable pitch. But yeah, that's how a lot of real planes solve that problem, right? The constant speed propellers, they're able to vary the pitch, fine pitch for takeoff, of course, for cruise. That would be really cool. We can get that something small enough for a model. All right, you gotta go back and forth, Hangar Queens. Yeah, this is going back to the modules for the FAA beacon. So yeah, again, like I said, it's really for when you start doing things stupid so they can find you. But if you're obeying the law, not being an idiot, nobody's gonna bother you. So yes, the Mustang has flown. It's flown several times, and so that I'll be working on that video shortly. I've got something that came up, and I just got interrupted with some other stuff. I've got a video I've been working on for technically several years that'll be coming out tomorrow. I'm just putting the finishing touches on it today, and it'll be ready later tonight. And so look for that tomorrow. And it's more of a personal project kind of thing, and I think hopefully you guys will find it interesting. It's a little different than the other videos I usually do. And you can't see it, there's another plane sitting there. You see their white and red plane? That one also that is a Cherokee that also just got flying. I had to do a kind of a quick job on that one, so I had to push a P-51 flight video. In fact, I've not finished a P-51 flight video. To be honest with you, all my videographers are out of town, so I'm stuck waiting for them to come back. So I got some other stuff I'm trying to catch up on. Let's see. I'll this comment. Guys, that's good stuff. Yeah, he's talking about I think it's the servo programmer for digital servos. I believe, yes, I think you can change endpoints, change speeds, and really try to match two servos together that may be different specs on the servos. So I highly recommend it. I use a lot of high-tech servos. They've been really reliable and reasonably priced and powerful and that kind of stuff. So you'll see that in more videos. Yep, hand-eye coordination for future surgeons. Modeling helps that. They should have had affordable option, should have responded. It didn't have 2 cylinders. Yeah, or in this case, 12 cylinders. So, yeah, that's a good point. I should have said that. Yeah. Said, yeah, I'll put a 4-bladed prop on it when I put 12 cylinders in it. Until then, you go to the dance with the props you brought. Hey, yeah, I know Joshua Orchard was working on injuring a Top Flight 51 using heli parts. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see that. Yeah, an electric one would be the easiest to try that with, and that would be really neat to see. And of course, the question is, how would you control it? Would you, because normally full-scale planes, if I remember correctly, right, they have a pitch control and a throttle control, and sometimes it's automatic, and for stuff like that. And so, what was the thing? Pitch controls speed, throttle controls power, something like that. Any of you guys fly full scale can correct me. I always thought that was kind of weird. Daniel's asking about the P-51. It actually flies pretty good. You'll see the video. There was some interesting things, technical issues I had to solve. But it's a very nice flying plane. It's I'll give you some minor spoilers. The engine, it's good power. 35cc actually pulls it on really, really, really good. It's turned out to take a little more finesse in landing it, surprisingly. And so I had to kind of experiment with different ways of my landing approach. It's more floaty than I would have ever expected to be. I'll put it that way. It's not a lightweight plane, but apparently it develops quite a bit of lift. And so it was surprised how well it'll slow down for a landing and that kind of stuff. So, so you'll see. So hopefully I can get to it relatively soon. But yeah, it's generally pretty good. It's a more complicated plane, as you saw in the build video. It's got extra stuff in there, and the wiring was kind of a pain. But look for the video, and you'll see some other stuff. I haven't said anything. I'm keeping spoilers. Keep some stuff a mystery. But yeah, I'm generally pretty happy with it. Looks like I hit the end of the comments. And we're poking right at about an hour. Anything else, you guys want to ask or say anything? I think I'm out of the comments was the main thing. I don't know if I have anything else to talk about. Kind of looking, thinking. I had nothing prepared. See Delta Darts we're talking about the constant speed props, or variable pitch props, I guess you can say. Governed to a few constant RPMs in different flight modes with pitch control of the throttle. That's a good idea. Yeah, you use the governor as part of heli speed controllers. That way you don't risk over speeding the prop, and it'll maintain a constant speed. And then your throttle is no longer throttle; it's pitch control. Yeah, your throttle stick. I'm talking about. Then do some test runs. Tune the dial optimal takeoff grooves. Yeah. You maybe even do some mixing, with, or maybe you have different modes, because I think that's how real aircraft do, right? They have a takeoff mode, and so you would set a takeoff mode, and it would have a certain RPM, maybe, and then once you're up and flying, then you can switch to a flight mode. It may have a different throttle curve, and you can go to a coarser pitch. That is fascinating. It'll be interesting to see if anybody can work on that. Hey, thanks, Scareborn66. Thank you so much. I really appreciate the comment. I don't think I'm very special, but thanks. I really appreciate it. And I will certainly try to keep up the content best I can. Excuse me. Variable pitch props are used in nitro. Really? That is interesting. No, I know the modern pattern electric ones, they're experimenting with like contra rotating props. Have I seen a variable pitch? I might have seen one. But on nitro, that's interesting. Obviously, it didn't last. They stopped doing it. Maybe it just wasn't worth the hassle. But I can certainly see for pattern, because it's nice to be able to. Another advantage for pattern is if you can, say you're on a down run, flatten the pitch and access an air brake. So you can have constant speed maneuvers and stuff like that. So it look really good once you get it tuned in. Mike, I got a question for you. What do we got here? I'm using an 885 160 kV Avian motor on 2S. Oh, 12S. Okay, I see the next comment. Okay. You're throwing me off there. I want to mate it with a two-blade prop. Can you suggest the size? Oh, I'd have to look up the motor. It's a 123-pound plane? I think you mean 23 pounds. 12S on a 160. So you're probably gonna be able to need a pretty decent sized plane. Prop, I mean. Have you checked their site to see what props they have recommended for that? Because I had a it's 160 kV. I'm trying to remember what I had on my Zero. I had something very similar on my Zero, and I used like a 24-inch prop, if I remember correctly. Let me see. Let me check something real quick. And it was what was the motor I had on there? But I think it had a slightly higher kV. Yeah, it wasn't the power system. I'm trying to remember the thing on the motor. Give me a second. Maybe I can find the motor, see what it was, look up the specs on it, see if I had a similar, at least give you a benchmark. I think it's over here somewhere. Yeah, here it is. So, actually remember where something is. All right, so I don't know if the dimensions are exactly the same. This is, 8085. Yeah, this is very similar. All right, hey, maybe we can get you somewhere, at least a starting point. So Mike, this is a Rimfire 65. I had this in a 80-inch Zero composite airframe, CMP, I believe it was. These are the fuselage composite. I think the wings were wood. And this I flew on 12S, and it was a beast. It would go straight up. Let me go take the prop off, see what prop this was on here. And this is also an 8085. Oh, Avian, I missed that. So this is probably the same motor. This was the older Great Plains motor, but the specs look the same. 885, 160 kV. Let me double check that this was, what's the kV on this one? 160 kV. So, wow, that's by chance of luck, this is the exact same motor. I think Avian is a different label, but this is the 8085. It says right on the side, 160 kV. I will tell you exactly what prop I used on it. Let me take the spinner off. Give me a second to find my Allen wrench here. So I'm gonna pop this nice aluminum spinner off. I eventually got rid of the Zero. It was kind of getting beat up and worn out, and somebody had an interest in it, so I gave an offer he couldn't refuse. But I kept the motor because I want to use it in something else. And I've got already 1 or 2 planes I can use it in. I've got another Warbird 80-inch that I think an electric setup would be perfect for it. Okay, here we go. Okay, so this one is an APC 2212W. So I think W is a wide blade version. So it's a 2212 was a good, I don't know what kind of speed controller you have. It depends on your speed controller, how much power you can pull. I think the first prop was, I think, a 2410 or 2412. And that, what happened with that one? That smoked the speed controller I had. I think I had a 160 amp speed controller or something like that. And it was a little too much for the speed controller, so I backed it off. But this still was no slouch. 2212, just a reminder of that. Yep, 2212Y APC. So something in that area would be a good start. So 180 amp, okay. I just saw your text. So 180 amp ESC. So that can, I mean, obviously, if you can measure the amperage, it gets kind of tough to find a good way to measure amps that high up. You either use a clamp meter, or if you get lucky and find some of the, there were some amp meters made for models that did like 200 amps, but they're hard to find. For T28, I think he said it was. Yeah, for T28, I would start with the 2212. See how you like that. That's not that's not a plane that you really need super lot of power, generally speaking, to fly one of those. But generally speaking, yeah, 22 to 24 inch prop, depending on the pitch. You might try a 2410 maybe. With 180 amp speed controller, that should be okay. If you want something a little more diameter, if you got a big cowl, 24 inch. But I was really happy with this power setup in this thing. I could hang out with the gas powered guys. I had 12S 8,000 milliamp hour battery pack, and it flew just fine. If I backed off the throttle, I could hang out with the gas powered guys for nearly as long as they flew. And if I poured the coals on it, I could outrun them and outclimb them. Of course, I wouldn't get the runtime, but it was really good power package. So it's a good motor you have in there for that plane. If it's a I see you saying, where is it? Have a 2212 3-blade, but I made it on a 2-blade. Yeah. Well, you have your answer. 2212 3-blade might be a little much for it, but again, it really depends on how much amp it's pulling. I'm trying to remember. This has been a couple of years since I've flown this or so I'm trying to remember the details. But I know I had to go down slightly in prop size to give me a little more margin with the particular speed controller I was using. And I don't think it was wrong with the motor itself. It was just that speed controller I didn't want to smoke it. But cool. Hopefully it goes well. Yeah, room for 65cc. Well, that's the nice thing about electrics is you can swing some bigger props and get a lot of power out of them. The problem I had with the Zero too was I really needed to engineer it a little better for the batteries. The batteries were a real pain. I had to have them basically sticking out through the firewall to get the balance right. And to charge them, I had to modify the cowl so it would split on the bottom part. And it worked okay, but it wasn't as good as I would have liked. So any other subsequent, and because it was electric conversion, it was meant for gas engines. It was an older kit. So, and I'm going to do the same thing to another plane, but I will definitely engineer the ability to charge the batteries a lot easier than how it was done last time. One day, I'll get around to it. All right. So, any other last thoughts? I may just kind of bug out. Thanks everybody for joining me, and great questions in the chat. Hopefully it was interesting to go over the comments from a video. I kind of like that idea. I can wax lyrically, or at least expand upon instead of typing something out, and get some feedback from you guys. So I was a little worried that I might lose you or maybe off base on a prop talk, but people in the chat seem to generally agree, including one person in particular I know has studied aerospace engineering, so he should know, actually officially know more than I do about propellers. All I know is stuff I pick up studying it. My background is not aerospace engineering. I just have friends and stuff that are. And I like to read books about that stuff. It's pretty cool. All right, I'll give it a couple seconds to see if anybody else has any last thoughts before I bug out and for tonight, work on some stuff. I got a couple things I need to tweak on. Well, I gotta go finish that video. All right, 10, 9, 8. Yeah. Is it 20? Yeah, it goes down in size a little bit. Sorry, I'm looking at this new prop. This will actually be the first time I'll run a multi-blade prop on a gas engine. On a big gasser, not, I've done it on a glow a bunch of times, but not really on a gas engine. That'd be neat to do that. See the performance hit I'll take. All right, looks like guys are, silence means you're out of questions. Thanks everybody. I appreciate your patronage. Appreciate you guys on the channel joining me tonight on this holiday weekend. Poor Saf's got to go back to work tomorrow. That's going to be fun. But until next time, you guys have a nice rest of your weekend. And hopefully you have a productive week coming up. And stay out of trouble. On that note, see you guys later. Have a good night.